We'll do a quick experiential check-in of bringing your awareness into your body and noticing your experience without labeling it. So we're so used to adding labels to our experience, and when you add labels to your experience, what happens? You transition into label land, thinking, narrative, thought, and generally it pulls you out of the experience. Not entirely, not always, but more often than not. So we're going to stay with the experience. We're going to notice the experience. We might have labels that come up, and we can welcome those and then set those aside and bring our attention back to the experience. And this is how you do deep dives on emotions and sort of get past the first layer or two or three of interpretation that you might have about those experiences. So find yourself in a comfortable position. I'm gonna change my sitting position. See if you can have a straight spine. Feel somewhat balanced. And start to breathe and notice how it feels to bring your breath into your body. Let that be the beginning of transitioning your attention into your body. Notice any other sensations. I have a nice breeze right now. There's a bit of tightness on my right side, on my back. Whatever your experience is perfect. And then see if there is an emotion that shows up. Often this is done when there is already an emotion. So whatever that is, give your attention to it, allow it to be there. And see if you can give your attention to the height of the experience in your body. If there is a label, like sadness or frustration or tiredness, notice that you have the label, set aside the label, just put it down, and come back to the experience, just the experience. What does it feel like? Before you had words, there was an experience. Eventually we learned to label experience, and at some point we got fixated on the label and the language, and we lost some touch, perhaps a lot of touch, with the experience itself. So we're going back to reunite ourselves with experience without interpretation, which often changes experience. Stay with it. It's often useful to give your attention to the experience by putting your breath on that center point of the peak experience. And it can be intense, uncomfortable even. This is also one of the reasons why we sometimes slip into a thought, a label, which we then take to thinking about, strategizing, land. And so we only take a little glimpse at this feeling rather than sitting with it long enough to understanding it more clearly. You could imagine what it would be like to go to a therapist or someone and you share one sentence about your life or your experience, and then they just prescribe what everything's going on with you. And you might feel misunderstood, frustrated. You might even sort of want to close off to this person, not share anymore. And it's not unlike that with the emotions that we have, where if we're only giving them a second to show themselves to us before we label them and move our attention away from feeling towards thinking or towards doing, eventually they learn, why bother sort of communicating? And so we're trying to reestablish that communication, because they really do have important things to tell us. They are our sense of what's important to us. They're signals about our environment, the people we're around. Meaning is found in experience, happiness, experience, love, and experience. So everything we want is there. And yet somehow we've transitioned away from being in touch with this. On the other side of every painful experience, there's a breakthrough of insight. Some clarity. So stay with the experience. Let this practice be something of developing your awareness, building that relationship and not expecting results immediately. You're building the therapeutic relationship with yourself. The alliance with yourself. So notice that experience. If there's a label that comes up, you can set it aside. And at some point, you can actually ask the experience itself if it wants to tell you anything. But to do that, you then have to ask the question and hold space to listen, to see what it might say. See if you can do this now, if you'd like. Again, if you get caught in streams of thought that are coming from your mind, easiest way to identify that is, are these thoughts you've had a lot before? Set that aside and come back to the experience. It's like you're having a conversation with someone who you really want to understand, someone really important, perhaps. And for whatever reason, you keep getting distracted from giving them your full attention. And because you've placed a level of importance on them, whenever you notice you're distracted, you just let that go. Let your distraction go and give your attention freshly to them. It might feel frustrating at first, but over time you really get the hang of it, and then it becomes natural. Breathing into the experience. One more time. What does this experience want to let me know? Does it have something it wants to communicate to me or bring to my awareness? Is it signaling anything about my life right now or my circumstances? Don't look for anything, just listen. It might not have anything to say right now, and that's fine. It might even tell you there's nothing it has to say right now. But just like you can enjoy a silent experience with a friend, you can also enjoy a silent experience with yourself and your feelings. A few more breaths. You might appreciate yourself for taking time to listen. Notice that you've, for at least a brief time today, prioritized listening to yourself. And you can imagine how that over a long period of time would transition to a more authentic, aligned, joyous, happy, fulfilled, exciting life. Keep at it. Take care. Have a wonderful week.